Hi, I'm Talia Newland, author, editor, artist, and meditation instructor. Welcome to Happiness Hints. Today I'm interviewing Erric Solomon. Erric runs the Radically Happy organization. Erric, tell me, why Radically Happy?
Yeah, radically has two meanings, and I should say I'm running it with my friend Pacho Rinpoche. He's a young Tibetan Lama. But so when we talk about radically, we have two meanings that we're thinking of. First, literally, radical means the root of something. And the second thing is that actually, what we like to say that by just making a slight yet radical shift in our lives, we can make a big difference in how we live our lives and how we experience life and how much contentment and love we experience. Part of what we mean by radical is that normally we think that to get the most out of life, we really have to put ourselves, our needs kind of first, and maybe the needs of the people closest to us, protect our family and so forth and so on. And that's certainly true to a degree. But the interesting thing is they followed, there's a Harvard study where they followed people for 75 years and looking at what people who define their own lives as successful and satisfying, and what were some of the qualities. And one of the most interesting things they discovered, if you would be overly reductive, is love is the key to happiness. The person's own sense as they neared the end of their lives of did my life have meaning? Yeah. Was I content with my life? It really came more from the people who thought of other people's needs. Yeah. And so it's a kind of a counterintuitive switcheroo. That's what we kind of mean when we say a slight but radical shift.
Yeah. What does your organization actually offer for people?
Well, right now what we're doing is Patrick Rinpoche and I are collaborating on a book. So my background is I was for many years an executive in Silicon Valley. So you take that perspective with Patrick Rinpoche's perspective, and he's an interesting fellow because he was born into a family of great practitioners going back many, many generations. And then he himself was recognized as an incarnation of a great previous teacher, so he received very special training. But then Patrick Rinpoche is young enough that even though he has kind of this traditional, from a point of view of Tibetan Buddhist background, he spent a lot of time living in America, and so we thought it would be fun to kind of combining our sort of very different background, but yet we've come to very similar conclusions, and to write a book a little bit touching on how each of us kind of got to this place, and then also offering something for people who perhaps might not be interested in being Buddhist, or maybe they're satisfied with whatever religious path or spiritual path they're taking, or perhaps they choose to take none. But then we thought we still have a lot to offer, and so that's kind of where it all started. And we do have some hopes of developing a program. I mean, right now we give lectures and teach workshops all over the place, but right now very focused on working on the book, which should be out in the spring of 2018.
If I was to say to you, Erric, give us one happiness hint today.
Can I tell a story first?
Please, because I love stories.
I was in Silicon Valley enough to go through a few booms and busts, and some of them hit me really hard personally. Within a matter of days, I went from a very, very comfortable figure to almost nothing. I just got devastated by this. I think I just couldn't believe how stupid I was. And I mean, it's a kind of embarrassing story now to tell, because it's like some, affluent guy who can't enjoy his home with a swimming pool because he's had a temporary setback, but the mind is a terrible thing. Anyway, I really hit some kind of total nadir in this whole situation. I get woken up at like 5 a.m. one morning, and it's one of my meditation teachers, Sogyal Rinpoche, on the phone. And he says, I'm sitting on the veranda with a glass of champagne celebrating impermanence, and just starts laughing into the phone. And I was like, hello? I was woken out of a dead sleep. And kind of on one hand, receiving the love that I guess motivated that call. On the other hand, I keep telling this. And then he says, right now, everything's fine. Just don't think about yourself too much. And he put the phone down. It's kind of maybe a few other things, but that was basically it. And it's like, right now, everything's fine. But I started thinking about that, and I realized, when I was meditating, because when we meditate, we really can come into the present moment, fully present, with just. I was actually okay. I would drop the looping. Oh, what an idiot I was, and all the self-denigrating thoughts that I had going again and again in my mind. I would drop that. Right now, in the present moment, everything is fine. It's only this thinking about the future. What if I had so little money in the bank? What if something changes? How will I make my
How am I going to do
right
this?
now, everything was fine. And the less time I spent on myself and my own kind of situation, the better I was. Of course, it doesn't make you feel instantly better or make all your problems go away. But then if you deal with it out of your anxiety, out of your fear, out of your... It's not that you need to push those, you have to acknowledge those feelings, but if you can instead come into a place of inner centeredness, of just being present, knowing how you feel, but not reacting to how you feel. Then, odds are, if there's an action to take, it'll come from a place of wisdom, a place of your creativity, a place of everything about that makes each of us special, that we all possess already within us. That will be much more likely to flow out than just being reactionary. If we're able to think of others' needs, again, in a way, it brings us off ourselves, off this kind of looping thought, and we're able to. That's my hint.
So, Eric, most people have some kind of hurdle, a happiness hurdle, that is like a habitual thing that they might have carried around for a very long time, that they find popping up over and over again, and they have to work with. Do you have something like that you can sort of pinpoint?
Oh, yeah. It's hard to pick one, but I'm a complicated guy.
One is fine.
I think I'll go with impatience.
Okay.
I think that's the root of so much of my kind of... I think hurdle's a good word. It's the hurdle. I have the obstacle that I have to be on guard or look out for, and because it affects me in two ways. One, impatience brings me out of the present moment, because impatience is something that hasn't happened yet I want to happen, or something that's going on now I want to go away, and so I'm just immediately takes me out of the present moment. The other bad thing about impatience is it starts manifesting as frustration and anger, and so it affects my ability to interact effectively with others, and actually to give others what I genuinely want to give them, which is my own, share my creativity, my wisdom, my love. It's very difficult if I'm impatient.
Sure.
So I think that's my hurdle.
How do you work with it?
Yeah, there's a few things. One is to just regularly practice coming into the present moment. As you point out, meditation is one very good way, and also remembering that if you meditate, to recall and bring forth that sense of mindful awareness, that presence as you go through your day. But also I find, whenever I want to work on some quality of mine that I'd like to transform, an opportunity for growth in myself, when I identify something like that, I often work with it this way. I think before bed just how tomorrow I'm going to be watchful for the things that might trigger that let's say we'll use impatience, the things that might trigger me to be impatient, and imagine myself not reacting simply out of habit. And then again, when in the morning, so I like to meditate first thing in the morning, And just before I finished my session, I recall that this aspiration of wanting to work on patients, imagining something happening during the day. I can usually imagine there's a couple places where it might come up, and then I encounter it and how I don't react or react differently. So that's the best thing I found.
That's a very skillful way of doing it. So now we're our hero. Do you have a happiness hero that you'd like to tell us about?
My father. My father had this way of always being able to find humor in any situation, a way to lighten a situation through humor. Even, very difficult life events, he could see another side and create a little bit of space, shall we say, by just seeing it through a humorous lens. And that had a big effect on me, and something I try to remember myself when I encounter life's challenges. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I think of some of the old Tibetan masters I met. There was one, Adi Rinpoche, who, when he was a teenager, was thrown in jail by the Chinese communists. Not for anything he'd done, but because of the fact that he had been recognized as a special incarnation, and people revered him, even though he was like 17 or 18 years old. And so they threw him in a concentration camp, and he spent about 15 or 20 years. And yet, whenever he talked about that time as this great opportunity to work on himself, and had absolutely no bitterness, and even kind of spoke of his jailers with kind of love and compassion. And this is when one time I got to spend 10 days with him, and it just seemed like everything to him was just a source of joy. So those are two, I guess you could say, happiness heroes.
What about a quote?
Dorje Rinpoche said, the very basis of our discontentment is the ongoing, never-ending evaluation of the quality of our experience. This, you know how we have, like, it's almost like you watch like CNN or one of these kind of news stations, and you see along the bottom there's always a ticker. It's like that. Whatever's going on, you always have a little commentary, sort of a subtle subtext saying, well, I like that, I don't like that. And then you start to think about that. It's constant, habitual evaluation of what's going on, and then reacting to that thought. And all it does is pull us right out of the present moment. We think we're experiencing things directly, but it's always mitigated by this habitual, I like that, I don't like that. Of course, no one's saying don't be discerning, don't ever, say I like this, I like that. But let's be honest, we're just lost in habitual thinking based on this evaluation. So that's my favorite quote.
Thanks, Eric. It's been great talking to you today. And that's the end of our interview. If there's one thing that I could put my finger on that made the most difference to the happiness level in my life, it's meditation. And to help you make meditation part of your life, I have a free guided MP3 meditation that you can pick up at talianewland.com/guided-meditation. Also, check out my bookshop at talianewland.com. Have a look for how to meditate easily, effectively and deeply on audiobook, ebook and paperback. Also check out my award-winning fiction. I write real magic, stories with the power to transform. And if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it around. And of course, I'd love it if you could subscribe to the channel. And if you want to make sure that Happiness Hints keeps on coming, please consider being a patron. Bye, see you next time.